welcome back to the Tea and a Buddy podcast. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Erica.
And we're going to be talking about Guess Who. Guess who we're going to be talking about today?
Why guess who?
He's that member of the royal family that everyone loves talking about. It's Prince Harry putting his foot in it again.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you guys are not interested in the royal family.
Well, we've got a couple of listeners who are.
Yeah.
Who we recently guested on a podcast of.
Oh, well, yes.
Podcast Royal. Go listen, check them out.
We have at least 2 listeners who are interested in the royal family. Yeah, but some of these topics that keep creeping up in the headlines, we just can't not
We just can't resist.
them.
And we kind talk about anything. I mean, we could talk about what's going on in Israel and Palestine and stuff like that. But I mean, it's current events. We talk about everything, really, you know.
Yeah.
So today we'll be talking about Prince Harry and the First Amendment. And what did he say about it? Did he abolish it? He has that power now. Meghan has endowed him with that power to abolish the amendment. He just came on.
He's a member of the British royal family, after all. I mean, we know what they're like.
Yes. It's like, you're doing great work, Harry. Just keep pretending. Keep it up.
Oh my gosh. I do not listen to the podcast that he made this comment on.
It was Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert podcast. Yeah, he went on there.
Yeah, so if you guys know who Dax Shepard is, he's
Dax Shepard.
Kristen Bell, isn't that her name? He's her husband. What do they do? They used to do a lot of. They're both actors.
Yeah, they're actors. Yeah.
But they used to do a lot of was it commercials together? They used to do something together. They did commercials all the time.
Like for a phone company or something?
No, for like furniture maybe.
Furniture.
You know who they are?
I know who they are, but I don't.
He's a tall blonde guy. She's a short blonde girl. They're both comedic actors. Yeah.
Yeah.
I first was introduced to him through that Ashton Kutcher show Punk'd years ago.
Oh, yeah, I vaguely remember that.
He was one of the actors who was always punking people on behalf of
Ashton
Kutcher, before he got, too famous.
Everybody
recognized him then,
That 70s show led to a whole host of...
Dax Shepard, not Ashton Kutcher.
Everyone
already knew who Ashton Kutcher was.
I have no idea who Dax Shepard is.
Oh, that 70s show, it got pretty popular, and that Ashton Kutcher...
He did! He was Kelso. What's Dax Shepard ever done?
I was talking about Dax Shepard in Punk'd. God, you're very non-American, aren't you?
Yes!
You don't know about these things. Surely they showed Punk'd in Britain.
Oh, we had Beatles About. It was better than Punk'd.
Beatles About? Okay.
Yeah, but Jeremy Beadle.
Anyway, Dax Shepard apparently has
Lord
a podcast.
rest his soul, was a British legend. And he pioneered the pranking genre. Good night.
I was going to say, are you done? Are you done?
Jeremy Beadle, everyone.
So Dax Shepard has a podcast, apparently, because, we all do. And,
we don't, though, do we?
How in the world did he get Prince Harry as a guest, though? I mean...
Prince Harry needs the money, okay? We've talked about this. He's been cut off financially. He's hard up. Him and Meghan are living in a slum in California.
Oh my god!
It's like a tiny house by the ocean.
What do you call it in Britain? A doss house.
A doss house. They're living in a doss house in California. And she's got another child on the way.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
They're living in one of those little huts, I think, on the beach.
Little huts on the beach. He comes
out.
out.
You put your swimsuit on.
Yes. And he's got an
I
ocean.
Don't even know if
and
those
he sells it. He sells
America.
it as an oceanfront property. He's like, and it's got royal connections.
But
dubiously.
But yeah, he went on this podcast, and what do you want to?
He went on the podcast, and the
I don't
subject.
know what they were talking about. We didn't. We've done a lot of research. We listened to the podcast.
They were talking about free.
We didn't listen to
the whole to the actual episode of the podcast.
Yes, so if you have listened to the entire episode of the podcast and the entire episode of our podcast is taken out of context, just let us know.
Context is important, everybody.
Yeah, because sometimes they do that, don't they? They take one little piece of a quote.
And he didn't just randomly come out with it out of nowhere, where there was no context. They could have been talking about, the difference between British and American sausages. I mean, you and I as Beatles fans, and he just came out and said, "Oh, do you know what? That First Amendment, it's bonkers." That's what he said. But there was all those years ago, John Lennon was taken out of context with the whole "the Beatles are bigger than Jesus Christ, Jesus." Yeah. Or bigger. I think he said bigger than Christianity. Okay. Yeah, it's something. Yeah. But it was in context to the conversation that they were having. So we didn't listen to this entire podcast. We don't know exactly what the context of the conversation was. But what was the quote? Give us Harry's quote now that has made headlines across the country. Harry, they were talking about free speech and everything like that, and the press and everything. Right. And Harry said, "I've got so much I want to say about the First Amendment as I sort of understand it, but it is bonkers." Yeah. And then he further and then he further went and said, "I don't want to get down this rabbit hole, the First Amendment thing, but there's a lot of bad stuff that can be said or not said with it, Yeah. And he says, and he did say, and it provoked a reaction. But he did say, unsurprisingly, I'm new here. Yeah, he says, I've only been here a short time, so I don't understand it fully. Yeah, and of course this provoked cries of indignation from, of course, from mainly Republican sectors. And, I don't know why only Republicans, though. I thought that was a bit because they're the only ones who have read the Constitution and follow it to the letter, to the amendment. Gosh. He's joking. I'm not joking. I've seen it happen. In my limited time here, it is bonkers. But yeah, people don't take kindly to an outsider dissing our Constitution, Yeah, and I mean, I did think he did go a bit too far later on. He says, "I've got a copy of it here," he said. "I'm just going to rip it up. Rip it up. One of the official... Rip it up for Granny." One of the official, what is it, four copies that exist. One of the official 4 copies. Now there's only 3. You can thank me later. No, and, people tweeted out, people, Ted Cruz got in on it. I mean, he was like, "Oh, nice that he can say that." Other people who I'm sure were like us and did not go and listen to the entire podcast and just took the soundbite that made headlines, right? And decided, oh, they're going to comment on it. Well, you know what? We're doing an entire podcast, so I think we're one-upping all of these politicians. Yes. Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage, everyone. Yeah, who is Nigel Farage? Who is Nigel Farage? American listeners. Well, he's a nobody, really. He was an MEP, a member of the European Parliament, but now that England is out of Brexit, England has Brexited, or Britain has Brexited, he's no longer in the European Parliament, as far as I know. Because why would he be? Yeah. So he's just being Nigel Farage. Was he a British politician at some point? I mean, he was. Locally? I don't think he was an MP. Surely he must have been, and then moved up to be. I don't know what his background is. Yeah, it's just being Nigel Farage. He's a big reason for Brexit, right? I mean, he was a proponent for it. Yeah. And yeah. In the beginning. And, well, he saw the campaign through, he was there in the referendum and everything, Oh, I thought he left just before it was all decided because everybody was so... No, he conceded on the night because he thought the numbers were going against him. Oh, yeah. So he conceded, but then the numbers went to leave and he suddenly was fine again. Yeah, he's a fool. To put it politely, he's a fool. Yeah. And this is what the fool said. He said, For Prince Harry to condemn the USA's First Amendment shows he has lost the plot. Soon he will not be wanted on either side of the pond.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Because he's trying to ingratiate himself over here.
Oh,
Nigel.
Yes. Yeah, he was trying to get in with Trump. He was
hoping Trump would give him a job.
Yeah.
And then he went on some tour of the USA, and it's like, and he's back on the UK. He's back in the UK now. But yeah, he's trying to get a job over here, but it's kind of like he's missed his boat on that one.
That must have been slightly what what they were referencing in the Windsors when Trump was going to have Charles come and be King of America.
Yeah,
it must have been something like
Nigel Farage was coming to be King of America.
Yeah,
yes,
it must have
been
sort of,
because
a nod to that.
Trump was kind of like overestimating how important Nigel Farage was in British politics when he wasn't really, you know. Texas Congressman Dan Crenshaw said, "Well, I just doubled the size of my Independence Day party."
Oh, jeez.
Yep, he's got a whole 4 people coming now instead of the usual 2.
They're gonna throw tea into the lake.
And then shoot at it.
Tea into the Gulf of Mexico.
Then shoot it.
Why is it all Texas politicians that were doing the commenting?
Well, these are the only ones I saw. That the rest were like from people who were just like, "Oh, they need to get out of here."
Yeah, I saw one that said, I don't think you have it here. One that I don't know who it was from. I think maybe somebody with Fox News, but don't quote me on that. Where she said, "Don't let the doorknob hit you on the way out, Windsor."
Windsor? You talking again? There was one right-wing tweet that said, I don't know if she was leader of a right-wing group or something, that says, "Oh, this is more of them complaining about how intrusive the press is and how much their search for privacy continues when they're saying this stuff. You know, they're going and doing interviews, you know."
Yeah, it's like, and does anybody want to guess how many more interviews they're gonna give?
Yes, that's the quote. Yeah,
on their quest for privacy.
The quest for privacy. Harry and Meghan, the quest for privacy, and it's going to be a documentary series airing on Disney Plus, isn't it? It's wildlife. No, I'm joking. It's not. Although.
It's going to air on Apple Plus, actually.
Apple TV.
Apple TV, that's it.
Yeah, because he's got one coming out, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think we'll talk about that in just a second.
Yeah. Of course, Piers Morgan took the opportunity.
Piers Morgan is still alive?
He's still alive. And he wrote to the Daily Mail a very angry letter. And this is he wrote, and it was mainly Meghan Markle. It's all Meghan Markle's fault. Meghan Markle, I don't like. Yes, I mean, I read most of it, and it was he mentioned Meghan several times. The guy has got it out for her.
Oh, jeez.
But this is a quote: "Like so much of the absurd Meghan-inspired psychobabble that spews out of his mouth, none of this makes any sense, and he clearly doesn't understand what he's saying either." And then he went on about Meghan again, and Meghan.
Yeah.
I hate Meghan. Meghan used everyone. Meghan this, and it's just like, how does your wife feel about this? That you're obsessed with this woman, you know?
So before we get into our opinion,
we have an opinion
of what he said. Let's talk quickly about the First Amendment. The
First Amendment is basically the right for free speech, isn't it?
Yeah.
And freedoms.
Free speech, freedom of the press.
Freedom of the press, yeah.
Freedom to peaceful assembly.
Yeah, freedom of religion.
Protesting the government, petitioning the government, etc.
People and redress of grievances and, petition the government, as you said. It's all... It's important. It's an important amendment that Prince Harry casually dismissed as bonkers,
Yeah, you have it, what is it? Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot not said in that.
Bonkers.
I mean, No, it's not. But what it is, it's like, you're reading those words aloud. And it's like, there's not a lot said there, but there's been like, there's been like, there's the stuff that's not said in that, you know? Mm-hmm. Whereas there's more to it.
Well,
if you get what I mean, it's just people are just reading like, oh, we have the right to bear arms, the Second Amendment.
Yes.
The right to bear arms. It's like, yeah, but there's also laws that say you can't go around, there's also like state law that says you can't carry.
Okay, so you're getting a little bit into your opinion of what he said. So let's back it up.
Backing it up.
Back it up. Tell us now if the UK does not have... Well, okay, what
the UK law on free speech.
The difference, I think, is that we have amendments to our Constitution. So basically, we have these laws that are written down word for word, protect certain protections that the people of the United States have against the government, basically.
That's against the government. Yeah, this is what it was originally intended for.
Yeah, these are to protect the people from the government, basically. Because in Britain, the royal family had a lot of power, and the people didn't have necessarily written protections. Yeah. I mean, not in the same way.
There's an unwritten constitution in the UK.
Yeah.
They call it the British monarchy a constitutional monarchy because now there's government and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to like Oliver Cromwell time and everything, when they decided, actually the people need a voice, rather than just doing as you say, Your Majesty.
Yes.
So like the House of Commons and the House of Lords and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like, when Britain entered the European Union, it had to adopt some of its laws.
Yeah.
And, there was like the Human Rights Act of 1998, which its Article 10 says, everyone has the right to freedom of expression in the UK. But the law states that this freedom may be subject to formalities, conditions, restrictions, or penalties as are prescribed by law and are necessary in a democratic society.
I mean, so it's basically the same thing.
It's basically the same thing over here, because, I mean, they've got, like, penalties and restrictions against the First Amendment.
Well,
you can't really incite hatred under it. People say, oh, yeah, well, you can. I can go into Walmart and I can start saying, let's kill everyone.
I mean, finish your bit, and then we'll talk about this a bit.
It says those restrictions may be in the interests of national security, territorial integrity, or public safety, for the prevention of disorder or crime, or the protection of health or morals, for the protection of the reputation or rights of others, for preventing the disclosure of information received in confidence, or for maintaining the authority and impartiality of the judiciary.
Yeah.
So, it's basically saying there the prevention of disorder or crime,
Yeah.
Incitement to riot, that is.
Yeah.
Protection of health or morals, saying COVID is a hoax.
Yeah.
That's not healthy, or don't take that drug because it's bad,
But in Britain, now tell me whether you know the answer to this or not. If a politician said COVID is a hoax, I mean, they're not. What are they going to face for saying that?
A headbutt.
Nothing,
they're going to get
right?
headbutted, yeah. I don't know. I don't know, really.
I mean, they're not going to be thrown in jail for saying that.
No.
They're not going to be fined.
They're just going to be publicly derided.
I mean, that's the same thing that happens here. You have freedom of speech, but you then, with that freedom may come consequences depending on what it is you're saying. There may be consequences, whether that be just socially, with all that's what the cancel culture is all about, really, is people giving consequences to people for the things that they've said, trying to.
Because, I mean, they don't have that much power, really. I mean, they can get... The cancel culture is not one person or one single Butty. It's just holding accountable. I mean, that's a whole other
It's
topic.
It's a different topic, yes.
Yeah.
But that is an example of people being held to account for the things that they have said.
Yes,
you
yeah.
know, whether that is right or wrong is a different discussion. But that's what I mean. Like, unfortunately, you can't pick and choose what you allow people to say. You know, you can't say, well, you have freedom of speech, but only if you're really nice to everybody. Only if you never hurt anyone's feelings. Only if, you know, because it's just like...
Say what you want, but make it positive and happy.
You can't do that.
Nothing controversial.
You can't put stipulations like that on what people say, or then it becomes, well, it's not really free then, is it? You know?
Yeah.
And so I think that that's where people have a problem with somebody saying, oh, the freedom of the First Amendment is bonkers. I mean...
Because the thing is with... in his context, he's talking about press intrusion into his life.
I don't think he was just talking about that, though. I think he was also talking about, like, all the bullying that goes on online.
Oh, yeah.
You know, people online are allowed to just say whatever they want, and they do it under the guise of, well, it's free speech, you know?
It's free speech for me to keep harassing this person. Well, actually, no, it's harassment.
Yeah.
It's like if I said, I don't like Prince Harry, but I also don't like Ted Cruz, you know? It's kind of equal opportunity there, you know? It's like I'm just saying that about both of them, you know? But if I'm going, I don't like Prince Harry, and I don't like Prince Harry, you know, I'm going after him.
But I mean, I think you can do that.
But if I was like constantly harassing him.
But is it harassment to just be, it's just criticism, isn't it? You know? You're not really harassing. I mean, he doesn't have to look at you saying that. People might tell him, oh, so-and-so is going on about you again.
Yeah.
You know, and he might have to hear it from that kind of way. And yeah, that sucks. But you know what? That comes with being a public figure, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's another topic for discussion, I think, is the fact that he is someone who didn't choose to be a public figure.
Yeah, he's someone who didn't choose, and that's what they say. They talk about in the podcast, in Dak Shepard's podcast. He goes on about, it's kind of like the Truman Show, isn't it? The royal family is kind of like the Truman Show. Yeah. And he was like, it's like a mix between the Truman Show and the zoo. Yeah. And of course that wound up people like Piers Morgan again, like, he's another attack on his family. And it's like, he's not really attacking his family. He's attacking the institution that surrounds his family.
Yeah, the firm.
The palace. You know, the god-awful moustaches.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he's attacking those people who run it. And, you know, it's their Rome at the end of the day. They've got to keep this going.
I think a lot of people don't understand that the royal family is an entity unto itself and is separate from the palace.
They're just a family. I mean, they're human like everyone else. They make mistakes. I mean, some of them are terrible mistakes, but, you know.
They also have to do what they're told. I mean, they're told what to do.
They're told what to do. So, you know. You know, you can either do as that. You know, you can either take from that what you will or move to California, you know, like Harry did.
Okay, so how do you feel about what he said? Let's just break it down.
He said, I don't really know. You know, I'm, you know, from what I've heard about it, it's bonkers. Yeah. But he's saying that because he's like, anyone can write anything they want about me and there's going to be no consequences. And it's kind of like, well, Harry, you had that luxury in Britain of having a relationship with the newspapers. And it's like, the editor would say, okay, weekend at Balmoral if I write something good about you, you know? Yeah. Or publish, or, you know, are they on our side? Is that paper on our side? And it's like, who's on our side in America? And it's like, are they actually on our side? Or are they just pretending to be, and then they're going to write some, you know, hack piece about us, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, I can understand his kind of like thing, but he's kind of got to get out of that way of thinking. If he wants to leave the royal family, he's got to leave the privileges that came with it, like the money and everything like that. And it does look a little bit self-serving when he's, complaining and, I had to do these deals with Netflix and everything, to secure money. And it's like, yeah, but you couldn't have done that if you were just old Harry Windsor, and his wife, Meghan, I couldn't have done that,
Yeah.
It's kind of like you've got that kind of like inbuilt celebrity,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's a double-edged sword, if you want to be like just a regular old normal celebrity, then, this is what it's going to be like,
Yeah.
Sometimes even worse than what the royal family had to endure because there was a wall blocking them,
I think that I totally understand what he means, that, it is terrible that faceless people can just say whatever they want on the internet. It is terrible the way that the paparazzi follow these celebrities around and they report on, every little thing and don't give them any sort of privacy. I agree with all of those kinds of things.
There's pros and cons to everything, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Like social media, it's a great thing. People are on there giving their opinions and views, and, it's quite fun to see what people think of this new show or whatever. But then there's also going to be the bad thing of, like, people coming on just to complain and troll famous people.
Yeah.
Like Chrissy Teigen being run off Twitter, but then she came back.
Yeah.
And Stephen
and now she's
Fry
being accused of being a bully.
And now something about Courtney Stodden, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, years ago. Yeah,
what's going on? But
it's like it's that kind of thing, It's like it's a double-edged sword, and everything is, really, if you think about it. Life is a double-edged sword.
Well, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you were gonna go into your. That's life, I suppose.
That's life, I suppose. For you Harry Potter fans out there, Horace Slugger, but that's life, I suppose.
Okay, yes. My opinion on this is, like you say, it's. I'm two ways about it, because on one hand, I do understand that he was born into this life. So he isn't like normal celebrities in that they chose to be public figures. And public figures in this country, and I think in Britain as well, are not afforded the same privacy laws that private citizens are afforded.
Mainly, and that's mainly because once you become a public figure, like a celebrity, people are looking at you. So
there's public interest.
There's public interest.
Yeah.
And people are going to make money off that public interest. If you're a private citizen, if you like that Woody Allen film, what was it? Was it a Woody Allen film? Where he had that man who was just going to his work, and then suddenly he became a celebrity for, like, just going to his work.
Yeah.
And it happened for a long time, and then it just, like, they moved on to someone else, you know? But it's just like, public interest comes and goes.
Yeah.
If Harry wants privacy for him and Meghan, then, you don't need to do any of these interviews then. You need to just go and find yourself, take your millions and... Invest in
films or projects, whatever. Yeah. And just keep to yourself. Stop doing
bare minimum,
Yeah, stop doing these interviews. Don't go to functions.
Don't talk to people. Just don't talk to anyone. Actually, just let other people talk for you. But that's the royal family, isn't it?
I mean, he came here willingly. He came here by choice. Well, depending on who you ask.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'd come out with something. If we were talking to him, Well, no, I mean, everybody going, "Oh, it's all Meghan. Meghan do this."
A lot of people feel that way.
Agree, that's fair either. So
no, but he did choose to come here. He is not a public figure by choice, but he did choose to come here, and he is a public figure. So, unfortunately, there's going to be interest in what he's doing. You know what? If he was just living, if he just moved over here and, got a quiet job, and I realize that this is not realistic, but But
He's
that being
yeah.
said, if he and Megan just lived their lives, you know, took the babies to the beach, went to the grocery store, even them going to the grocery store, I saw was a headline the other day. Oh, they went something about, you know,
They went on a family trip in the
I don't know what it was.
wagon.
They went like under disguise or in disguise or something to the
So they
grocery store.
So they wore sunglasses.
But it's like if he just lived his life and quit doing interviews and quit, you know, being a public figure, then there would be less interest. I mean, I would never say that people are not going to still be interested.
Well, no, if he disappeared, there'll be suddenly people who want to write a book on, the Lost Royal.
Yeah.
And, you know, yeah, I mean, he's never going to get away from it. I mean, he's going to try and make as much money as he can from it.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, you just have to try and ignore the bad stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what else to say, really. But that being said, he's got a docuseries that he's been working on with Oprah, I think. And I saw the trailer for it. I don't know if you've seen it. He's got Lady Gaga in it and a bunch of other people.
Yeah,
and they're just talking about mental health. And it looks very interesting. But as long as he's going to continue to do things like that, you know, he's inviting criticism. He's inviting people to be interested in what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he's just inviting people to continue to talk about him. So it's just like, how sorry are we supposed to feel?
Yes, it looks self-serving.
You know, I don't know.
It's one for the ages, this story.
Yeah.
And thank you if you've lasted till the end.
Yeah.
Because we appreciate it.
I mean, I understand, too, because you and I, well, Dominic and I, we like to sort of come up with the topics that we're going to talk about, but we don't really like to script anything because we want this conversation that we're having to be a genuine conversation. In fact, even when we come up with a topic for a podcast, we might start talking about it because it's a topic we're interested in, and we'll go, no, save it for the podcast because we want the conversation to be genuine, you know, and it's difficult in a podcast. I mean, we have the luxury that we can edit these podcasts if we stumble or if we say something we don't like or whatever. We have the luxury. It's our podcast. We can take out whatever, you know. And
we don't have a producer except me.
And I suppose maybe Harry could have done that with Dax Shepard if he thought, oh, you know what, maybe take out that.
No, he couldn't have. I bet he couldn't have.
About the First Amendment. Just scrap it, you know, forget what I said. Because I do that. I do that almost every podcast, you guys. There's something, and Dominic won't take it out. Dominic doesn't ever take it out. So
yeah.
If you guys ever listen to me
yeah.
and I'm rambling and I say something that's cringe or I say something that is just like, what is she talking about?
She's reading an autocue right now.
He just left it in because it was genuine, you know, and people make mistakes sometimes when they're having
There's a lot of
when they're having an organic conversation.
Yeah, it's like I said, you know, it's like me thinking of something to say.
You might say something silly in the moment, and then later on you go, why did I say that? I just
say it, and then I just leave
and
it
then
in.
You never think about it again.
Never think about it again.
I wish I had that luxury.
Until someone prints it out of context, and I'm like, did I actually say that? Oh, I might have done, but you know, context is important. That's gonna be me from now on. Actually, when people go, "You said this," it's like, well, context is important, isn't it?
I'm just a big overthinker, so you know, after we finish recording these podcasts, I'm like, why did I say that? Take that out, and Dominic's just like, okay, and then he doesn't, you know.
Yeah, I'm a right Daily Mail journalist, me.
So I apologize. But, you know, that's part of just what happens when you're just talking and you're not reading from a script. Because people are human and, you know...
People are human. And yes.
Is that your way of wrapping things up?
Yeah, we're wrapping things up here.
Yeah, we're out of time. So, like Dominic said, thank you.
We're out of time.
I hope we're not out of touch, but yeah. Like Dominic said, thank you. If you lasted all the way till the end. When I've just completely when I've completely lost the plot and
Lost
just
the
started
plot.
rambling.
And you won't be welcome on any side of the pond.
We appreciate your support as always. Be sure to check us out on social media. We are at TButty, TEABUTTY on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we will talk to you next time.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Woo!